The crimson stains spread across the Persian rug like spilled wine, but Ethan Morrison knew it wasn't wine. His hands trembled as he clutched the silver tray, watching his employer Adrian Blackthorne rise from the lifeless body sprawled across the Seattle mansion's marble floor. Blood dripped from Adrian's lips like a terrible secret finally revealed. 24-year-old Ethan had been working as a house manager for 6 months, desperate for any job that came with housing. After his family in Portland discovered his sexuality during his junior year at University of Washington, they cut off all support. The conversion therapy they forced him into left scars deeper than any physical wound. When that failed to change him, they threw him out with nothing but shame. Adrian Blackthorne had seemed like salvation, a mysterious benefactor who offered generous pay and a roof over his head in the affluent Queen Anne neighborhood. The Gothic mansion overlooked Elliott Bay, its dark windows like watching eyes. Ethan convinced himself the strange hours and Adrian's nocturnal habits were just eccentricities of the wealthy. But now, watching Adrian's fangs retract as he wiped blood from his chin, Ethan understood the true nature of his employer. The pale skin that never saw daylight, the way mirrors seemed to avoid reflecting his form, the dinner guests who arrived alive but never left. Adrian turned, his centuries-old eyes meeting Ethan's terrified gaze. There was no shock in those dark depths, only mild annoyance at being discovered. The vampire's voice carried the weight of aristocratic breeding mixed with something far more ancient and dangerous. "You've seen something you shouldn't have." Ethan, Adrian's accent held traces of old European nobility, refined through decades of American high society. "This presents us with a rather delicate situation." Ethan's throat felt like sandpaper. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but his legs refused to cooperate. The tray slipped from his nerveless fingers, crystal glasses shattering against the floor like his carefully constructed sense of reality. "Please," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the crackling fireplace. "I won't tell anyone. I just want to leave." Adrian stepped over the corpse with fluid grace, his expensive Italian shoes leaving no sound on the marble. He was devastatingly beautiful in the way predators often are, perfectly designed to lure prey. His dark hair was styled immaculately, his tailored suit showing no trace of the violence he'd just committed. "Leave," Adrian's laugh held no warmth. "I'm afraid that's no longer an option, my dear boy. You see, I have very specific requirements for my household staff, loyalty being paramount among them." The vampire circled Ethan like a shark sensing blood in the water. "However, I'm not entirely unreasonable. You have something I need, and perhaps we can reach an arrangement that benefits us both." Ethan's mind raced, trying to process the impossible situation. This was the stuff of nightmares and horror movies, not real life. But the metallic scent of blood in the air and the very real corpse at his feet made denial impossible. "What do you want from me?" The words escaped before he could stop them. Adrian smiled, revealing perfectly white teeth with just a hint of fang. "I want you to do what you've already proven quite capable of. Ethan, I want you to find people for me. Specifically, I need you to find the perfect woman to be my next meal." The request hit Ethan like a physical blow. "You want me to help you kill someone?" Such a crude way of putting it. Adrian waved a dismissive hand. "I prefer to think of it as providing these women with the most exquisite night of their lives. A perfect romantic evening, followed by a beautiful death. Surely that's better than the mundane suffering most humans endure." Ethan's stomach churned at the casual way Adrian discussed murder. "I can't do that. I won't be responsible for someone's death." Adrian's expression hardened, the aristocratic facade slipping to reveal something far more sinister. "You misunderstand the nature of our relationship. Ethan, this isn't a request. It's an assignment. Complete it successfully, and you live. Refuse, and you'll join tonight's unfortunate guest." The weight of the ultimatum settled over Ethan like a suffocating blanket. As he looked into Adrian's pitiless eyes, Ethan realized he was trapped between his own survival and his conscience. The choice before him would define not just his fate, but the kind of person he truly was. Sometimes courage isn't about being fearless. It's about choosing what's right even when everything inside you screams to run. Heart Stories brings you tales of impossible choices and moral courage. Don't forget to subscribe. Dawn crept through the mansion's heavy curtains as Ethan found himself walking the rain-slicked streets of Capitol Hill, Seattle's vibrant queer district. Adrian had given him 24 hours to find the perfect victim. The irony wasn't lost on him that he was hunting prey in the very neighborhood where he'd found acceptance and community after his family's betrayal. The morning air carried the scent of fresh coffee and yesterday's rain. Pike Place market vendors were setting up their stalls in the distance, the city awakening to another day of ordinary life. Ethan envied their normalcy. He'd barely slept, haunted by the image of the corpse in Adrian's library and the vampire's casual discussion of murder. His phone buzzed with a text from Alex, his ex-boyfriend. They'd broken up 3 months ago when Alex started his medical residency at Seattle General, but they'd remained friends. The message was simple. Coffee today, need to tell you something important. Ethan stared at the screen, his chest tightening. Alex was the one good thing that had happened to him in Seattle. Their relationship had ended not from lack of love, but from Alex's demanding schedule and Ethan's financial instability. Now, knowing he might never see Alex again made the loss feel fresh and devastating. Adrian had been specific about his requirements. Young women, preferably educated and refined, someone with intelligence and sophistication. The vampire's taste leaned toward those who could engage in stimulating conversation before becoming his meal. It was a grotesque parody of romance that made Ethan's skin crawl. He wandered through the university district, observing the morning joggers and coffee shop patrons. A group of sorority girls laughed over their lattes at a sidewalk cafe. Graduate students hurried past with backpacks full of dreams and dissertations. Each face he saw could belong to someone's daughter, sister, or girlfriend. At the Fremont Sunday Market, artisans displayed their wares under colorful tents. A young woman with paint-stained fingers sold handmade jewelry, her eyes bright with passion for her craft. Another taught children how to make pottery, her gentle voice encouraging their clumsy attempts. These women were creating beauty, nurturing growth, contributing something meaningful to the world. The afternoon brought him to Bellevue Square, where wealthy socialites browsed high-end boutiques. These women might fit Adrian's preference for sophistication, but Ethan found himself unable to approach them. Every time he tried to strike up conversation, the words died in his throat. His conscience rebelled against the very act of selection. As evening approached, Ethan returned to Queen Anne with nothing to show for his day of hunting. The mansion loomed before him like a Gothic cathedral of death. Adrian was waiting in the sitting room, a crystal glass of what Ethan now realized was blood in his hand. Unsuccessful, I see, Adrian observed, his voice carrying disappointment that chilled Ethan to the bone. Perhaps you need more motivation. The vampire moved to an antique desk and withdrew a leather journal. Its pages were yellowed with age, filled with elegant handwriting. Adrian's voice took on a distant quality as he spoke. This belonged to someone very special to me once. Marcus Webb. He was a poet, much like you fancy yourself to be. We met in London during the winter of 1943. The war was raging, and people were dying by the thousands every day. Yet somehow, in the midst of all that death, I found something I'd never experienced in 3 centuries of existence. Adrian's fingers traced the journal's worn cover. Marcus was dying of consumption. I thought I was saving him when I offered the gift of immortality, but the transformation failed. Some humans simply aren't compatible with our nature. I held him as he burned away to nothing, his final words asking me to find love again. For the first time, Ethan saw a vulnerability in the vampire's ancient eyes. The revelation that Adrian had loved and lost created an unexpected crack in the monster's facade. It didn't excuse his actions, but it made him startlingly human. You remind me of him, Adrian continued, his gaze settling on Ethan with intensity. The same idealism, the same stubborn moral compass. The admission hung between them like a dangerous secret. Adrian closed the journal. You have until tomorrow night. Ethan, Find me someone suitable, or I'll be forced to make a choice I'd rather not contemplate. Understanding that trauma and loss don't excuse harmful choices became Ethan's painful lesson that night. The next morning brought Seattle's typical gray drizzle as Ethan sat in Victrola coffee on Capitol Hill. Alex arrived precisely on time, sliding into the booth across from him with quiet efficiency. But there was something different about Alex today. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his usually steady hands trembled slightly. "Thanks for meeting me," Alex said, his voice carrying a weight that made Ethan's chest tighten. "I wasn't sure if you'd come, given how things ended between us." Ethan studied his ex-boyfriend's face, noting the subtle changes 3 months had wrought. Alex had always been lean, but now he looked almost gaunt. His cheekbones were more pronounced, his clothes hanging loosely. "You said it was important," Ethan replied, pushing down his own supernatural crisis. "Are you okay? You look sick," Alex finished with a bitter laugh. "That's because I am Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 2. The oncologist thinks we caught it early enough for a good prognosis, but the treatment is going to be aggressive. Chemotherapy starts next week." The words hit Ethan like a physical blow. Alex, vibrant, brilliant Alex, was fighting for his life while Ethan was being forced to help end someone else's. The cruel irony made his stomach churn. "I wanted to tell you in person," Alex continued, his voice barely above a whisper. "You were the most important relationship I've had, and I didn't want you to hear it from someone else if things don't go well." Ethan reached across the table, covering Alex's hand with his own. The simple touch sent electricity through his body, reminding him of everything he'd lost when their relationship ended. "You're going to beat this. You're too stubborn to let some cancer get the better of you." Alex smiled for the first time since arriving. "My oncologist says the same thing. Dr. Sarah Martinez at Seattle General. She's supposed to be one of the best in the Pacific Northwest. Specializes in treating young adults with lymphoma." The name hit Ethan like a lightning bolt. Dr. Sarah Martinez. Yesterday, while wandering through the hospital district, he'd overheard nurses talking about their favorite doctor, a transgender woman who'd overcome incredible odds to become one of the most respected oncologists in the region, someone who dedicated her life to saving people like Alex. "Tell me about her," Ethan managed, his voice hoarse with growing dread. Alex's eyes lit up with genuine enthusiasm. "She's amazing, brilliant, compassionate, funny. She spent an hour with me yesterday explaining everything, answering all my questions. She told me about her own journey, how she transitioned during medical school despite the discrimination. Said if she could survive that, I could survive anything cancer threw at me." The description painted a picture of exactly the kind of woman Adrian would find irresistible. Intelligent, sophisticated, with a compelling personal story. Someone who could engage in the kind of stimulating conversation the vampire craved before making his kill. And now she was the person standing between Alex and death. Ethan's phone buzzed with a text from Adrian. "Time is running short, my dear boy. I trust you're making progress." "There's something else," Alex said, pulling Ethan back to the present. "I know we broke up because of my schedule and your financial situation, but going through this has made me realize what really matters. I love you, Ethan. I never stopped loving you. Would you consider giving us another chance?" The request shattered what remained of Ethan's composure. Here was Alex, facing his own mortality, offering the very thing Ethan had dreamed of during their months apart. But accepting meant watching the man he loved slowly die while being forced to murder the doctor who could save him. "I need time to think," Ethan whispered, his voice breaking. They parted with an awkward hug, Alex heading back to the hospital while Ethan wandered aimlessly through the city. The rain had intensified, soaking through his jacket and chilling him to the bone. He found himself standing outside Seattle General Hospital, watching staff members hurrying through the rain. Somewhere inside was Dr. Sarah Martinez, probably saving lives, giving hope to patients like Alex. As night fell over Seattle, Ethan realized the true cruelty of Adrian's game. The vampire hadn't just asked him to find a victim. He'd orchestrated a situation where Ethan would have to choose between his own happiness and an innocent life. The greatest betrayals often wear the mask of impossible choices. The hospital cafeteria buzzed with the quiet energy of Seattle General's late evening shift change. Ethan sat at a corner table, nursing a cold cup of coffee and watching the entrance for Dr. Sarah Martinez. Adrian's deadline loomed only hours away, and desperation had driven him to this final, terrible reconnaissance mission. He didn't have to wait long. Martinez emerged from the elevator bank at precisely 9:30. She was exactly as Alex had described, brilliant eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, graying hair pulled back in a practical bun, and the confident stride of someone who'd fought for her place in the medical world and won. Even from across the crowded cafeteria, Ethan could sense the quiet strength that radiated from her. She moved through the space with purpose, stopping to check on a worried family in the corner, offering a reassuring smile to exhausted resident grabbing coffee. This was someone who dedicated her entire existence to healing, to giving people like Alex hope when hope seemed impossible. Martinez approached the coffee machine near his table, fumbling through her scrubs pocket for change. Ethan watched her count and recount a handful of quarters, her tired face creasing with frustration when she came up short. It was such a human moment, so far removed from Adrian's romanticized notion of a perfect last evening. Without thinking, Ethan stood and walked over. "Excuse me, Dr. Martinez. I couldn't help but notice you need some change for coffee. Please, let me..." She looked up, studying his face with the sharp assessment of someone trained to read people quickly. "That's very kind, but I couldn't ask you to. Alex Chen is my boyfriend," Ethan said quietly, the lie rolling off his tongue with surprising ease. "He told me so much about you, about how you're helping him through his treatment. It's the least I can do." Her entire demeanor shifted, warmth flooding her features. "Alex, oh, he's such a wonderful young man. Please sit with me for a moment. I was just about to grab some dinner before my next rounds." They settled at a quiet table near the windows overlooking the city. Martinez's hands wrapped around her coffee cup like it was an anchor, and Ethan could see the exhaustion she carried. She'd probably been working for 12 hours straight, pouring her energy into saving lives. "Alex speaks of you often," she said, her voice gentle. "He's been struggling with the idea of putting you through this battle alongside him. The fear of being a burden is often as devastating as the disease itself." Ethan's throat tightened. He could never be a burden. "I love him." "Love is complicated when illness enters the picture," Martinez continued, stirring her coffee slowly. "I've seen relationships crumble under the weight of cancer, and I've seen others become unbreakable. The difference isn't in the strength of the initial feeling. It's in the choice to keep choosing each other when things get difficult." The words hit Ethan like a revelation. Here was someone talking about the very choice he was facing, though she had no idea of the supernatural context. Choose love, even when it meant sacrifice. "Tell me about your own journey," Ethan heard himself ask. "Alex mentioned you transitioned during medical school." A shadow passed across her face, years of painful memory condensed into a single expression. "Those were dark days. I nearly quit medicine 3 times. The discrimination, the isolation, the constant questioning of whether I belonged. But there was this one professor, Dr. Emily Chen, who saw something in me worth fighting for." She paused, looking out at the city lights. "Dr. Chen taught me that our scars don't disqualify us from healing others. They qualify us. Every struggle I faced made me better at understanding my patient's pain, at fighting for those who can't fight for themselves." When she finally stood to leave for her rounds, she placed a gentle hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Promise me something. Don't let fear make Alex's choices for him. He needs to know you're willing to walk this path together, whatever it brings." Ethan watched her walk away, disappearing toward the oncology wing where Alex was probably sleeping. She had no idea she just sealed her own fate. Her compassion made her exactly what Adrian craved, But as Ethan sat in the empty cafeteria, something crystallized. Dr. Martinez had talked about choosing love even when difficult. His phone buzzed with another message from Adrian. The night grows late. Dear boy, I trust our dinner arrangements are progressing. For the first time since this nightmare began, Ethan felt something other than despair. Learning to recognize what truly deserves protection often requires risking everything we thought we couldn't live without. The Queen Anne mansion felt colder than ever as Ethan climbed the marble steps for what might be the last time. Midnight had come and gone, and Adrian would be expecting his dinner guest. Instead, Ethan carried only his conscience and a decision that would cost him everything. He found Adrian in the library, lounging in a leather armchair beside the fireplace where the first corpse had lain just days ago. The vampire looked immaculate as always, dressed in an expensive silk shirt. Marcus Webb's journal lay open on his lap. "Ah, Ethan," Adrian said without looking up. "I trust you've brought our guest for the evening, though I must say you're cutting it rather close to my deadline." Ethan stepped into the circle of firelight, his hands empty, his heart hammering. "I haven't brought anyone. Adrian, I'm not going to." For a moment, the only sound was the crackling of burning logs. Then Adrian slowly closed the journal and looked up, his ancient eyes reflecting the flames with predatory intensity. "Excuse me, I said I'm not going to do it," Ethan repeated, his voice gaining strength. "I won't be responsible for Dr. Martinez's death. I won't help you destroy someone who saves lives, who gives hope to people like Alex." Adrian rose from his chair with fluid grace. "Dr. Martinez, so you have found someone suitable after all. How delicious that you've chosen to protect her." "She's Alex's oncologist," Ethan said, meeting Adrian's gaze without flinching. "She's the one person who might be able to save the man I love. But even if she weren't, I wouldn't deliver an innocent woman to satisfy your hunger." The vampire's expression shifted, surprise giving way to something that might have been admiration. "You're willing to dodge for a stranger. I'm willing to dodge for what's right," Ethan corrected. "You told me about Marcus, about how much you loved him. Would you have wanted someone to sacrifice him for their own survival?" Adrian's grip on the journal tightened, his knuckles showing white beneath his pale skin. The mention of Marcus had clearly struck deep. "Marcus is dead. Ethan has been for 70 years. "No, but maybe they'll honor what he believed in," Ethan said, taking a step closer despite every survival instinct screaming at him to run. "You said he had the same moral compass as me. What do you think he'd say about what you've become?" For the first time since Ethan had known him, Adrian looked genuinely shaken. The mask of aristocratic composure slipped, revealing something raw and grieving underneath. "You don't understand what it's like to lose someone you love and then continue existing for decades, centuries afterward." "But they are real," Ethan pressed. "Dr. Martinez is real. She has patients who depend on her, a life's work that matters. Alex is real, fighting for his life in a hospital bed. I'm real, standing here choosing death over becoming like you." Adrian moved closer, his supernatural speed making him appear to glide across the room. "You're so certain of your righteousness. But what happens to your beloved Alex when Dr. Martinez dies anyway? All mortals die. That's not your choice to make," Ethan said firmly. "Dr. Martinez gets to decide how to spend her life, how many people to save. You don't get to steal those choices because you're afraid of being alone." The words hung in the air between them like a challenge. Adrian's face cycled through emotions: grief, rage, and something that might have been hope. He looked down at Marcus's journal, his thumb tracing the worn leather binding. "He wrote about you, you know," Adrian said quietly. "Not you specifically, but someone like you. He said that if anything ever happened to him, he hoped I would find the courage to love again without trying to possess." Ethan held his breath, afraid to break whatever spell was settling over the vampire. "For 70 years, I've ignored those words," Adrian continued. But looking at you now, seeing you choose principle over survival, perhaps Marcus was wiser than I gave him credit for. Adrian set the journal carefully on the mantelpiece and turned back to Ethan. I could kill you right now, but then I would spend the eternity knowing that I destroyed the closest thing I've found to Marcus's goodness. So what happens now? Ethan asked, hardly daring to hope. Adrian walked to the window overlooking Elliott Bay. Now I make a choice Marcus would be proud of. I let you go. Ethan, I let Dr. Martinez save your Alex, and I find another way to live with this hunger. As dawn approached over Seattle, Ethan walked out of the mansion and into his new life. He would return to Alex, to their uncertain future together, to the long fight against cancer with Dr. Martinez as their ally. And somewhere behind him, an ancient vampire sat reading his lost love's words, learning to choose hope over hunger. Sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go of what we think we need to survive and choosing instead what allows others to thrive. The hardest battles we face are often fought not against external enemies, but against our own fears and selfish desires. Have you ever had to choose between your own safety and doing what's right? How do we find strength to protect others when we feel powerless? Share your thoughts with us, and don't forget to subscribe to Heart Stories for more tales of impossible choices and moral courage.